Ladies and gentlemen, sports fans alike, welcome to another edition of Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago, one of the couple, two, three best podcasts around. So sit back, grab yourself a cold one and a Polish sausage, park your keister in the French room, and listen to Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago.
In Chicago, you know that all sports rock. The Bears, Hawks, Bulls, Cubs and Sox. Pick your favorite, you can choose, as long as the Packers lose. For everything you need to know, it's Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago. Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago.
Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago. This is your hosts, Alex and Sean. On this episode, we are going to be talking about a Bears win. First one we're going to be talking about since September. We'll also be talking about Blackhawks, Bulls, Cubs, and maybe a little White Sox in there too. But first, I'd like to thank our sponsor, the Rockford Ice Hogs. If you're not familiar with the Rockford Ice Hogs, they're the AHL minor league affiliate of the Chicago Blackhawks. What does that mean for you? You get to see the stars of tomorrow today at family-friendly, affordable prices. The season is in full swing right now, so don't sleep. Head on over to icehogs.com, get yourself a hat, shirt, jersey, tickets, and more. Tell them Swerski Sports sent you. Also, I'd like to plug Hot Mic. You get to hear a local broadcast when you watch the Cubs and the White Sox. You get to local broadcast when you watch the Blackhawks and when you watch the Bulls. But guess what? You don't get a local broadcast when you watch the Bears. You get Mark Schlereth. You get, a bunch of jerkwaters that nobody wants to listen to because they're annoying and they don't care about your team. You want to hear fans talk. That is why Hot Mic exists. It is an app that you can get on your phone, and you sync it up to your TV with it's a giant button on your phone. You press the button, syncs it to your TV, you put your TV on mute, you watch the game on your TV, and you listen to fans talk. It is other people like you that are cheering when the Bears score. They're throwing things when there's a bad call. They're groaning when Mitch Trubisky throws an interception. They're just like you. It is pretty cool, and it's free. It doesn't cost you a dime. And you can listen to the Swerski Sports Crew doing games. So go to the App Store, download Hot Mic, use either the code PATT, P-A-T-T, all capital letters, 23, or capital H, capital O, capital P, 23, HOP 23, all capital letters. And you know what? Listen to it once. There's several Bears broadcasts. Check us all out. And I promise you're going to like it better than whatever lock that the Fox gives you. All right, now that that's over, Alex, how did you feel about the big win?
I just enjoyed the fact that we won. I like when we beat the Lions. I really do. I think outside of beating the Packers or like the Vikings, the Lions are my favorite team to beat just because they're a division rival, and all the flapping of the gums that comes from Detroit is at least silenced for now, even though we're not much better.
It's because nobody knows a Vikings fan. They probably exist. There's people wearing purple in the stadium, but how often do you meet a Vikings fan?
My college roommate was.
For real? Wow.
Yeah, very close, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's like meeting like a Navajo. I'm sure I met one time, but...
Actually, I knew several Vikings fans in college.
Huh. Crazy.
Well, it's probably because Minneapolis, St. Paul. I went to a private Lutheran university, and Minneapolis, St. Paul has, I guess, a number of big congregations there. So people from that area have gone to my school, so that's probably why.
Huh. Yeah, so you don't see a lot of Vikings fans. Okay, so you knew a couple from college, but then outside of that experience, you're 20-something years old and probably have not met one before college or after college.
No.
Green Bay fans, we're next to Minnesota, Wisconsin, so we run into them all the time.
Right.
But most of the time when they're chirping at you, it's just like they're terrible at chirping. Your team's not very good, eh? Okay, thanks, guy with camouflage. That's it. That's all you got. But then you got the Lions fans, and they are the biggest chirpers. Like, they're like Yankees fans, except with a team that's never won ever anything. It's insane how much trash the Lions talk and their fans. And so beating them, I mean, beating the Packers is the best because they're the class of the division for the past 25 years. But beating the Lions is pretty satisfying because their fans are annoying. You know, they're coming off an 0-16 season, and they're like, you know, hooting and hollering if they get a win. And chirping at the fans. It's crazy. They're just the worst.
Well, you know what's funny is, like, what I notice is most of the trash talk between Lions fans and Bears fans occurs in the off season. And then when the regular season happens, when more often than not, neither team is any good, it's just kind of quiet.
Yeah, they should go back to when they used to, I don't even know if you remember this, when the Lions fans used to wear the bags on their heads.
Oh, I remember 2008.
Oh, yeah, because, they've been doing that for a long time.
Yeah. And, you know, one of my good friends from college, he's a diehard Lions fan, and we always give him shit, but he's kind of the Lion. He's the part of the Lions fan base that's just like, yeah, I know. We're Lions fans. I know. I get it.
I'm fine with those fans. Like, I have no problems with those fans that are like, you know what, my team sucks, but they're my team. What am I going to do? But
that was like us and the Cubs all those years. I mean, I could sympathize with that.
Yeah, but last year, you know, I went at it on Twitter with Darius Slay for a couple of days, and Lions fans were I don't know why he kept fighting with me, but and I'm not gonna lie, he was totally right, but I was just angry because he was shit talking the Bears. He was shit talking Mitch Trubisky, and you know, I can shit talk Mitch Trubisky. He can't.
Trubisky roasted them last year,
and this. Well, I mean, he beat Darius. I mean, most of his big throws were against Darius Slay. How bad do you have to feel to get roasted multiple games in a row by Mitchell Trubisky?
I think it's, if you go back to the last two games, including yesterday and the one before, combined 6 touchdowns, no interception, and rushing touchdown. The game last year, which was a year ago tonight, that was over 300 yards. Yesterday obviously wasn't, but still 3 touchdown passes, and you add those together, that's 6, and no turnovers in the last 2 games versus them.
Yeah, and he roasted Darius Slay on several throws in that game. So it's, you know, Darius Slay can't talk anything when your defense is ranked 31st in the NFL and you're getting roasted by Mitch Trubisky.
You know what yesterday's game told me? Like, I gotta say, I've really grown respect for Matthew Stafford. He's always been a very durable guy, and you know, while he's certainly not Aaron Rodgers level, I mean, the guy could put up numbers. The guy can make things happen. I mean, could you imagine this Lions team without Matt Stafford, period? Would they even have a win? Maybe one?
Yeah, I mean, Matt Stafford's a very good quarterback. And he's, you know, a lot of people, I mean, you get no coverage when you play for the Lions. And most of the bad press about him is, you know, when his younger days, when he threw a bunch of interceptions, because he's very Brett Favre-ian.
Right. Like I mean, when you're a gunslinger like that, that's going to happen.
Yeah, he's a throwback quarterback. So he's playing. I mean, but the last few years, he's been playing great. And nobody knows because the Lions don't play primetime games. And, you know, it's just so like nobody sees him play.
The only time they really get the national attention is the annual Thanksgiving football game. And they usually put the Lions on first when everyone's, you know, doing stuff. They're like, oh man, I forgot that there was a game on at like 11 in the morning. Exactly. And I'm looking at his stats right now, Matt Stafford's stats, and I mean, it's pretty amazing. he hasn't missed the start, until yesterday. He'd gone, let's see, from 2011 to 2018, did not miss a single start. Not one. That's impressive.
Yeah, it's impressive in this league, the durability. I mean, it's even at a quarterback where it's a position that they protect you very well. The league does, the officials do. It's still really, I mean, look at the crazy things that can happen. Look at Danny Trevathan yesterday. He was just falling down and his arm bent the wrong way.
That was nauseating.
But don't worry, the really smart announcing crew for that broadcast totally said that he might be back.
Yeah, questionable.
He's questionable. This arm bent the wrong way.
Ugh.
Like, I was talking to some people, and I had a picture of it on my phone, and I was like, oh, you didn't see what happened to his arm? And I sent it to them. They were all like, oh, my God, I was eating breakfast, dude.
Yeah, and the breakfast came out.
Yeah, I'm sure it did. It was pretty nauseating.
It was. And that's a really tough I mean, the Bears season, I mean, we'll get into it later, but, the Bears season is still pretty much lost, but, man, losing him now with Akeem Hicks, I mean, that really stinks.
It really does. I mean, honestly, the Akeem Hicks loss is just devastating. I mean, I tweeted to a few people about this, but it's like, I'm not trying to undervalue Akeem Hicks, because there was no way I undervalued him. I mean, I was like, the guy is dominant. I'm like, he's the second best player on this entire team behind Khalil Mack, and he's not that far behind Khalil Mack. But I didn't realize. So, like, I knew his relative importance. I didn't realize to what level he impacted the Bears' defense. Like,
well, it's huge because they don't have any more pressure on the quarterback anymore.
I didn't realize that all of the pressure from the middle was him. I didn't realize that without him, you couldn't stop the run. That he's the cog that makes everything go. I mean, Khalil Mack's numbers are just in the toilet without him. Like, it makes me think that Akeem Hicks is the best player on this team, not Khalil Mack.
Well, just look back last year. Look at that game against the Rams. Look at what Akeem Hicks did in that game against Todd Gurley. Look at how he stuffed, again last year, Cook against the Vikings. I mean, you saw some great plays from Khalil Mack last year in those games. You saw, that strip fumble that he had, I think it was against Cook as well when he was falling down. You saw some great plays there, but watch that Rams game. A lot of that was Akeem Hicks.
Right, absolutely.
That guy was suffocating people. And you saw that the game-clinching sack in that game, it was fourth down, sack would end it, and here comes Akeem Hicks just bull rushing and completely running over Jared Goff. He might be the most important cog on that defense. And Khalil Mack might be the most talented, but the problem is now that Akeem Hicks is gone, you just focus a lot of your blocking on Khalil Mack. You don't have to worry about both of them. You just focus your guys on one.
And if the blatant holdings against Khalil Mack just keep getting ignored, I'm going to assume that that's a mandate from the league. Don't call holding against Khalil Mack because it's absolutely ridiculous.
It is.
When the guy pulls him so hard he spins and right in front of the official's eyesight and he doesn't call anything. I mean, you should have heard the radio broadcast. 3 calls in a row. They were livid. It was insane.
Yeah.
But let's jump into this game a little more.
Mm-hmm.
We had it's a hard game to judge. I mean, a win is a win is a win, and this is a league. I mean, you look at, as the time we're broadcasting this, the 49ers are still undefeated. They're getting ready to play the Seattle Seahawks, so they may have lost that game by the time you listen to this, but they're undefeated. They haven't really played anybody, but you know what? That doesn't matter in the standings. It doesn't matter. It's halfway through the season and they're undefeated. That's all that matters. They don't go strength of schedule when they look to playoffs. It's not a voter system. Well, they had some ugly wins and they only beat this team by 1 point. They don't care. It's standing. It's straight numbers. So a win is a win is a win. But this was an ugly win, and it was not a very telling win because the defense, you can't really gauge them because Stafford wasn't playing. And on offense, you were facing the 31st ranked defense, and you really struggled for most of the game.
I wanted to talk about the offense real quick because I think it's worth saying. Actually, I think it's one of the main points of the game. I think of all the struggles, all the times they struggled yesterday, and that was through most of it, I think one of the last people you should blame is Mitchell Trubisky. The line was terrible.
There
were some big drops. It was awful. I like Cody Whitehair in his natural position, but the snapping was terrible.
And we talked about that before. It was, he'd been playing center, due to necessity, and when they switched him over, I thought you would get better results putting both guys at their natural position, James Daniels and Cody Whitehair. But I think last episode I said, you need to switch them back, and I was like, you saw no exchange issues with James Daniels, like they just didn't happen. And you switch back one game and you're already seeing snapping issues because Cody Whitehair's not a natural center. But Cody Whitehair is your best offensive lineman, and he's your smartest offensive lineman. And you didn't see the improvement, but he knows. Olin Kreutz was talking about this on the radio, that you watch, and even when James Daniels was playing center, Cody Whitehair was calling out some of the things that he should be noticing. And so you need him to play center until James Daniels, is better at understanding what the responsibilities are in the NFL. But you have to live with Cody Whitehair not being able to snap the ball as well as you want, and being probably arguably the worst snapper in the NFL, even though he's a phenomenal offensive lineman.
Right, and when you have the other team's defensive front seven in your face constantly, and you have to go down and pick up the snap from the ground, or you have to jump up high and get the snap that's way over your head, that just made things even harder for Mitchell Trubisky. I mean, you also got to look at some of those throws he made early. They were good throws, but they were dropped. Now, was Trubisky perfect? No. The first throw of the game was an overthrow to Taylor Gabriel. It was just a very small screen pass, but it was overthrown. One of the sacks that Trubisky took, just no pocket awareness whatsoever. But you consider the throws Trubisky made when they put those points on the board. The throw to Ben Broniker in the end zone, the throw to Taylor Gabriel in the end zone for the other touchdown, a nice simple play to Cohen to the outside who just ran up and got into the end zone untouched. He made some throws, and in that first drive, he made some nice throws to Allen Robinson to get there in the first place. So, no, I'm not going to say Trubisky lit the world on fire, but when he made big throws, he made them count. It's unfortunate that most of the offense itself was not doing very well. I mean, in addition to the offensive line and the bad snapping, you saw Trey Burton jump unnecessarily, not putting his feet down. It resulted in out of bounds. I mentioned the one drop by Gabriel. A lot of people were talking about that.
To be fair with the Trey Burton one, is he couldn't get that 1 foot. I mean, he didn't need to jump, but he couldn't get that 1 foot down because the defender had his leg there, which, I don't know if that was good defense or just sheer luck, but that, otherwise he put his foot where it should have been down, and there was just a guy's leg there blocking it. But I get your point. Yeah, that didn't help Trubisky at all.
No. So I think Trubisky should be one of the last people that should be getting criticism for this game specifically.
Right. It's just, you know what? He sucked for all season. So you're not going to let him off the hook. So you're going to just lump him in with everybody else. If it was, he had ups and downs games, and then this game, but he's just had all downs this season. So it's, he has an okay game, and the offense sucked up until that last drive of the first half. They were terrible.
Yeah, it wasn't doing anything.
Before that drive, what did Mitch Trubisky have, 20 yards passing? And
something like that.
And if they wouldn't have if they wouldn't have made that first drive, that first down, he could have gone into halftime with 20 yards passing. That's just abysmal. And so, I wouldn't say he had a good game. Statistically, if you just look at the sheer numbers, you're like, oh yeah, he had a good game if you didn't watch it. But the eyeball test tells you that, sure, he made some of the throws, but that offense is just not clicking. And I agree with you.
And again, that's
the offensive line is abysmal. And
abysmal. You're right.
It is so bad. You're getting pressure from every which way, and I don't know how to help him. I don't know if it's the new scheme that they're running. I don't know. I don't know what is happening, because it's just like everybody forgot how to block, and they need to fix that. 6 weeks ago.
Yeah, it's really bad. I didn't think the play calling was as bad as other weeks. There were some questionable calls, but you're never going to have a 100% perfect bill of play calling. The game plan was clearly to throw, because Detroit's secondary, like we said, don't they have the most net yards given up in the NFL passing?
Yeah, I think so.
That was a legit game plan that made sense.
You look at the numbers, and Trubisky had 23 passes. They ran the ball 20 times. So they had a balance of the run and pass. So I can't be mad about that.
I'm not either.
You got, what I did like is they got the ball in playmakers' hands while they were in stride. A lot of the Bears' plays is curl routes, and other than the seam routes, and the skinny posts, the deep routes. Other than those, most of them are comebacks, or the receiver is stopped, gets the ball, then starts going. There was a lot more of get the ball to the guy in stride and let them use their speed, and it was, you got a better result. Also, I don't know if you noticed this, but when the Bears had success, and I have to go back and, verify the accuracy of this, but it started with that last drive of the first half. They went to a no-huddle offense, and you saw them get into rhythm. Because those few drives where they scored, they looked great. That's what we expected to see this season. They looked great. And it's crazy to me that you can either look absolutely great or like dog shit tacos. I don't know. It's insane. But they were calling the right plays for the right people. We talked about it before, where when they're playing bad, they've got the wrong guys running the wrong routes. So you've got, a jump ball deep downfield with Tariq Cohen. Like, why isn't Allen Robinson getting that? He's a better receiver than Tariq Cohen, and he's twice his size. Let him go up and get it. And
they used Tariq Cohen perfectly on that touchdown.
Right, absolutely. But still, your offense had too many penalties. There's too many penalties. You can't. This offense is not in rhythm, and you can't overcome penalties. There's teams that, Aaron Rodgers can overcome penalties. There's guys that can. Tom Brady can overcome penalties. Pat Mahomes can overcome penalties. Mitch Trubisky and the Bears can't overcome penalties. So if you put them at something in 20 to go, you might as well just go, all right, let's just run it 3 times and punt it, because that's what you're going to get. You're not getting that first down. It's frustrating. And so these guys they got to stop holding. The offensive line needs to play better. Stop the pressure, stop the penalties.
Yeah, I mean, look at Charles Leno Jr. He's really struggling this year.
Massey's struggling.
Mm-hmm.
Leno's struggling.
And Leno was so reliable last year. He was very, very, very reliable.
Wasn't he a Pro Bowl alternate?
I think he was.
Another thing I want to say is we've had absolute shit production from tight ends this year.
How does it feel that Ben Broniker is like the guy?
Ben Broniker has done everything to earn more playing time.
Yes, he has.
He's made himself into a pretty good special teamers. Last year there was the one where he took the blame, but really it was somebody was out of position and he had to one-on-one block somebody and got the punt blocked. But, it was just there was a misplay that got the focus on him. But anyways, he's earned more playing time, and it was nice to see that they deactivated Adam Shaheen and gave the playing time to Ben Broniker. And is Bennett Broniker the answer? No, but you know what? If he's much more the answer than Adam Shaheen, and right now I don't know if it's because he's still struggling to come back from sports hernia surgery, or if it's the anxiety issues, or what it is, but Trey Burton is not the same guy that he was the first half of last season. And so Ben Broniker, if he's going to be, Rudy, try hard, hustle, outwork everybody and do everything he's supposed to do, then you know what? Let him play.
What do we do with Trey Burton going forward?
I mean, you got to bring him back because, but you don't have to anoint him as the starter. You could draft somebody and try to get somebody that way. But I think Adam Shaheen, I think you move on from him. He's just not been the guy you expected him to be.
What would you say you do here?
I look like Herman Munster. Ho, 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 Lily, ho, 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 ho.
Yeah, that's kind of a mess right now, the whole tight end situation. But that was a beautiful throw to Ben Broniker. I mean, that was a dime, and that had to give Mitch a little confidence. And after he made that throw, you saw a few more good throws. I really liked that throw to Taylor Gabriel in the end zone. I think it was 3rd down, and he just launched it and got him.
And that's yesterday's game was something that we just haven't seen from Mitch Trubisky, is good touch on the deep ball.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Normally it's way underthrown or 72 yards too far. There was touch on the ball. And so you're just like, well, when he's throwing those balls and you're like, damn it, why can't he just do that all the time?
I know. Now, it does help that the Lions secondary sucks, but still, he was right on the money with those throws.
Right.
He was right on the money.
But I mean, I don't know what you do with the Bears. Do you bring in an extra guy and make it max protect and send less receivers out? And I don't think that's not what Matt Nagy wants to do, but if that's what you got to do to protect your quarterback.
Right, exactly. I mean, at this point, how can you say you don't want to not do something if it's not working?
Whatever's going on with this offensive line is not working.
No. Not even close to working.
Let's see, what else do I have?
I had something I wanted to bring up, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
I wanted to really bring up the defense. We talked about the front seven already. We talked about the lack of pressure, but boy, I gotta tell you, I do not get what has happened to the secondary. Because, look, let's be real. I'm sure you agree. I'm sure most Bears fans agree. Matthew Stafford would have ripped them apart yesterday, the way some of those guys were open.
Here's the thing. When you get pressure, it changes everything.
Of course.
And they're not getting pressure.
But how is the coverage this soft? I get it. Having Max and Hick last year made a huge difference. But you had guys like Eddie Jackson talking on 6 a.m. The Score today, talking about how he doesn't have an interception yet. Like, it's like the longest in his career, like since college, that he's gone without an interception. Kyle Fuller really struggled yesterday. He did more harm than good, and Kyle Fuller is a very good player, but he had an awful game yesterday.
I want to defend him a little bit. The touchdown that was thrown against him was back-to-back games where it was offensive pass interference that didn't get called, that got the separation for the touchdown. And you're like, what the hell? Why doesn't Matt Nagy throw the flag on that now that you can review that? Because both of those were blatant offensive pass interference. On that second line touchdown
still.
But it's the other teams are finding the openings in the zone, and you're not getting pressure to speed up the process. So guys have time to find the soft spots in the zone, and that's what's going to happen. If you don't get pressure in a zone, you're going to get picked apart. And also, we're finding just guys making these absolute, crazy throws. And even with a Jimmy Driscoll, you're like, what the hell? How did he throw it 12 feet over the guy's head and the guy jumped and caught it? It's frustrating. But, if you look at it, it sucks to watch. But when you come down to it, is they gave up 13 points yesterday. They gave up, 20 points at home to Philadelphia. They gave up, 10 points to Aaron Rodgers in the first game. Let's see, 22 to Philadelphia, 10 to Aaron Rodgers. Like, they're holding teams to very little points. I mean, look, yesterday, what did the Chiefs give up, 40 points?
I'm not trying to say the Bears defense is bad by any means, but I mean, you saw the way those guys were wide open. And there were some big drops by some of those Lions receivers, and there were some big penalties too that negated the gains.
That is the frustrating part, is defensive penalties. I'm
talking offensive penalties on the Lions, because there were several plays where Driscoll bombed it to a guy wide open, would have been a first down and more, but a holding call negated it.
Yeah, it's just, part of it is they gotta make the tackles when there's a lot more missed tackles or yards after contact than there has been. It's also teams are running against the Bears better. So when you have the last year, what you had was, you basically negated the running game for every team. You just negated the run game. It was obsolete. So you had a lot of third and longs. And third and long, it forces you to run plays of 10 yards and longer, which A, have a lower percentage of being completed, and B, it's you have a better idea of what they're going to do. Is you don't have to defend certain parts of the field because they're not going to throw it there. They're not going to throw it, a 3-yard pass that you have to defend everything underneath because they have to throw it, towards the first down marker. Then so that changes how you cover things. You add all the pressure the Bears had, forces bad throws and forces mistakes. And also the Bears had a lot of turnovers, which the Bears were able to capitalize on, and other teams were playing where they had to throw more. And, when you absolutely are giving up the running game, makes you one-dimensional, and then the defense was able to pin their ears back and just bull rush and not have to worry about the running game. So it was a lot of things went right last year that are just not going right this year. Teams are running.
No, and injuries don't help. I mean, injuries really don't help. Like we said, Akeem Hicks and Danny Trevathan, that really does not help things.
Yeah, Roquan Smith does not look the same that he did last year. I don't know what it is going on. And Akeem Hicks is hurt. You're just not getting the same pressure. Teams schemed for you better, so they're trying to do either run right at Khalil Mack,
apart piece by piece. Just very slowly.
Right. So they're scheming better for you. So just a lot of things, and the big part is they're establishing the run better. I mean, they're still not running crazy against the Bears, other than the Raiders game. They're not running crazy against you, but they're establishing the run, and they're creating third and shorts, third and mediums, and so you're like, well, okay, well that changes the dynamic of what you have to defend.
Yeah, I definitely agree that the lack of pressure is really hurting, really, really hurting. We knew we weren't going to see exactly the same defense as last year, because last year, let's face it, that rate was kind of unsustainable. I mean, I don't think people would disagree with that there. It's just the way you've seen teams adjust. And even though you're not giving up a lot of points and you still are a good defense, teams are driving down in big spots that matter. I mean, luckily, Driscoll, who I thought had a pretty respectable game for a guy that doesn't have much experience, he was still not Matt Stafford or any other Pro Bowl quarterback, because on that last drive, or the last two drives really, you saw a lot of missed tackles. And again, guys wide open, they were able to shut it down eventually. I mean, again, it helped that it wasn't like an all-star quarterback out there. But I just think you got to look at it as a whole and think, well, while it's still good, you see the cracks showing. Cracks that you'd hope that wouldn't show but are. Again, part of it is injuries, but some of it is teams have simply adjusted.
Right. And I think some guys have regressed. Like we're not seeing the same Leonard Floyd that we did last year. We're not seeing the same Roquan Smith we saw last year.
No, and we're not seeing the same Eddie Jackson.
And we're not seeing the same Eddie Jackson. And
we're not seeing the same Khalil Mack.
I feel bad because that guy's just getting held it's either double, triple teamed or held, or all three of those things. So it's
I can get
he's not getting there. He's not getting home. But man, he is just getting held like crazy, and it's infuriating. You're just like, why? I get it. It's probably, you probably as an official go, I can't call a hold every time, but if they're holding every time, then call a hold every time.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt that Mac getting triple teamed and whatnot, that doesn't help things at all. I mean, sure, the holding doesn't help, but they've even said on the radio, I mean, they were talking about it today, how you can just tell that the spring in the step isn't 100% where it was last year. Again, probably getting double teamed doesn't help or whatever, but you're just not seeing the same exact guy.
No,
He's
I
still
agree.
fine. He's still fine. But
I agree, but it's, you know what, is if he's getting double and triple teamed, why isn't somebody else getting to the quarterback?
of course, I mean, you have a bunch of other good guys on that team. Your sacks leader is now Nick Williams.
Yeah. I mean, the Bears just should move on from Leonard Floyd.
I really had high hopes for the guy, but it seems like all I can do is sack Aaron Rodgers.
I think you move on from him. And I don't know exactly where you find. It's not like there's tons of edge rushers out there, but Leonard Floyd is expensive, and he's not the answer. So I don't know how you fix this. I think part of it is Roquan Smith's got to dig deep and figure out who he is. Eddie Jackson's got to, figure his stuff out. And
he'll be the first one to tell you that.
And you need to figure out the pressure. You got to if you're not getting there with your front four, your front three, then you need to blitz. And you need to have smart blitzes. And I think Roquan Smith should be a very good blitzing linebacker, and you're not seeing a ton of it.
No, you're not. I mean, we saw some really promising things last year from Roquan Smith. I mean, there's got to be something else going on there. I just, clearly there's something else going on. I don't know what it is. Nobody knows what it is. The Bears have done an incredible job of kind of covering that up and not letting anything leak, but there's clearly something going on. And, I don't know when or if it's going to get better. I hope it gets better for his sake and for the team's sake. But right now it's kind of a mystery.
There's two more things I want to talk about that are Matt Nagy related.
Okay.
The first one is there was a lot of people online pissed about the Bears declining the penalty on third down and Detroit kicking the 58-yard field goal.
Mm-hmm.
Now that one, I have no qualms with. And
that's a tough one.
Here's why I'm not upset with it. Is if you decline that penalty, it brings up fourth down, and that's a long field goal to kick at Soldier Field with the wind was swirling. It wasn't still, the wind was swirling. You're like, okay, that's a tough field goal to make. But if you tack on, the penalty and give them third down again, what if they just run Jimmy Driscoll? He had some really good, effective runs.
Yes, he did.
And it makes it, they're probably not getting the first down, not worried about that, but it makes it a closer field goal. He runs for 12 yards. It gives them a chance to get that first down, plus it gives them more likely a better shot at a field goal, shorter field goal, even if it's a few yards. So I'm okay with that one. If it's in a dome, maybe I have a different theory, but in Soldier Field, when the weather's, it's cold and the wind's swirling, I'm gonna let them try kicking 58-yard field goals all day long.
Yeah, I was kind of back and forth on that one, but I kind of came to the conclusion that that's kind of a tough call. So I'm not going to harp too much on that one either, frankly.
Yeah, I'm okay with that one. The other one that it's harder to defend is when they go for it on fourth down from their own 29-yard line.
I'm glad he did it. I'm glad. Nothing else was working. You needed to grow some balls, and you did.
My problem is that it's a one-score game at that point, and you haven't done anything to show to trust, and you barely got the first down. And just because it worked out doesn't mean it was the right decision. Like, if if you have $1 left in your pocket and you can either get something to eat because you're starving, or you play a lottery ticket, if you win the lottery, it was still the wrong decision to make. It just you lucked out and had the right outcome, but a bajillion to 1 odds you get the right outcome. But I think he made the wrong call, but it worked out in the Bears' favor because they barely got that, and the way that offensive line is playing, I don't know if I would have trusted them. And if you don't get that, that whole game could have swung in a different direction.
I'm going to defend him on that one. Nothing was working. People wanted, if he wouldn't have gone for it, I bet you many Bears fans would have said, oh, he's got no balls, he's got to have some ball. I don't know how many would have, but I bet you some would be. A coach is never going to satisfy us one way or another. But you know what? I'm glad he grew some nuts right there. Because you know what? If nothing else is working and you keep losing, what else do you have to lose? Try something different, grow some balls, and he did, and it worked.
If he would have done that and it would have been, you know what, we are not going to go for a long field goal, we're going to go for it, I'm fine with it. Even if it's around the 50-yard line, I'm okay with it. But being at your own 29-yard line, if you don't get that, the Lions they're already in field goal range, and they're almost in the red zone. That's a dangerous one, and at that point you've got no momentum at all, and you needed like a foot, and you got a foot and 1/2 inch. You barely got that. If you would have run anybody on your roster other than David Montgomery, I don't think you get that first down.
Probably not, but they gave it to Montgomery and he got it.
Yeah, I'm glad of the outcome because I don't think they win if they don't get that drive.
I mean, what happens if you punt right there? You weren't scoring anything, and then when they got that first down, all of a sudden the confidence came in and the wheels started clicking. You punt right there, and you still don't have any points on the board. Who's to say they even get anything together at that point?
How confident were you that they were going to get that first down when they said they were going to line up on 4th down on the 29-yard line?
I actually felt pretty good. I said, yes, go for it.
Okay. I wouldn't have because, if I'm
I said, if you have nothing to lose, then just fuck it and do it.
Yeah. If I had a quarterback that could run a quarterback sneak, or if I had the Dallas Cowboys offensive line from the last few years, then I'm fine doing it. But this is a team that, if I have a team that's high-powered offense, I'm fine. But I was not fine because this offensive line was terrible, and the quarterback doesn't quarterback sneak, and you had no momentum. And so for me, that was a luck. That was just sheer luck, not skill. I'm glad it worked out because I don't think they win without it. But that's a ballsy call to make that I don't know if I would have done that one.
I'll tell you one thing. If this was last year and this was a crucial game, I'd agree with you. I definitely agree with you. But you have lost 4 in a row. Your team has not scored jack. They had nothing going for them. They needed a shot in the arm. And after that play, the wheels started turning. The buttons started getting clicked. Things came together. If this was, let's say last year towards the end of the year and the Bears are on the verge of, clinching the playoffs, I'd agree with you. I definitely would.
So here we sit with a 4-5 record. Right?
Yep.
We're 2 games behind the Vikings. for the last wild card spot.
I'm not playing that yet.
I'm not either, but I heard somebody say it, and I'm like, get out of here. And I looked, and I mean, they've got several teams to leapfrog, and we got a long way to go. And this was way too ugly of a game for me to think that they can do it. But mathematically, the way the schedule works and where they sit, they've got a real chance here, because the Eagles and the Cowboys are tied for the division lead. You play the Cowboys still, and they stink. So you can beat them, and if you beat them, it catapults the Eagles into the first place in the division, but it puts you ahead of the Cowboys in the standings. You play the Rams next game. If you beat the Rams, you're ahead of the Rams. You move ahead of the Rams, and that leaves, if you win those 2 games, the only team ahead of you in the standings for the wild card is the Carolina Panthers with a backup quarterback. So, and you're behind the Vikings, but you play them again, and you already beat them once. It's a tough road, and the Vikings got to lose some games, but if you're the Bears, you can't give up hope at this point. And it doesn't matter if you win ugly. Mathematically, you still got a good shot.
I don't know if I'd say good shot, but shot.
You have got a realistic shot.
They're at 4.4% right now.
But you have to win the games in front. The way the schedule is lined up.
The Vikings. When did you hear that?
Today.
So after they won last night,
you beat them. So they're 2.5 games, but you beat them.
Right.
So you have the tiebreaker.
True.
And so, and if you beat them again, you beat the you beat the Rams and you beat the Cowboys, suddenly, you are 7-5, and mathematically, the only team ahead of you, and chasing the wild card would be the Panthers. And, so it's not like crap. We only have, juggernaut teams, or we have all the teams ahead of us have easy schedules. You have the teams that are ahead of you on the schedule for the most part. You just got to win those games. So the schedule has lined up in your favor. It's just you got to win those games. Win them ugly, win them however you need to win them. But you got to win these games. And that's why I'm okay with that club dub, because you know what? Remind them how good it feels to win.
Yeah, I don't get why people were so upset about that. I mean, it's in their own locker room. It's not like they're going out in front of people and doing it.
Yes, you know what? Is they need a morale boost. They needed it.
Sure. And it's good that the Bears still see it as a way that they're not giving up. That's good. I just personally don't think we really have much of a chance, but hey. It's something.
If I'm a gambling man, I'm not putting money on the Bears making the playoffs. I'm just saying is that if they've got a major league running them. They just got to they just got to put Aaron Rodgers with all of his clothes, and then 8 parts, and you just break down those 8 parts until he's down to his thong, like in Major League.
Exactly. Let's look again at the remaining schedule. I just want to play a fun little game here. We did it last week. We'll do it again this week. Next game is in Los Angeles against the Rams.
I think the Rams
Sunday
win.
Night Football.
I think the Rams win, too. But they're a garbage team too. So it's not.
It'll be a very close game.
It's not like last year. Jared Goff is bad. And I tweeted this out too, and it's gotten some nice traction, but I'm glad we figured out Mitch Trubisky is bad before we gave him a Jared Goff contract.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Because you know what? We can move on after one more year of Mitch Trubisky where he's making good money, but he's making like, I think 6 or 7 million rather than 30. And it's 1 year and wash him away. We could even cut him if we wanted to. I don't think it makes sense to cut Mitch Trubisky, but you don't have to pick up that 5th year option of his. And next year would be his last year under his rookie contract. And if he plays really well, you can franchise tag him and you bring him back for probably the same amount of money that you would have paid him in a contract anyway per season. Mm-hmm. So no need to give him a contract.
Yep.
But Rams, I think the Rams win. So, but the Bears have a fighting chance because the Rams are garbage.
I think they beat the Giants.
I think they beat the Giants too.
Now on Thanksgiving, if Stafford's out, I think they win that one too.
I think they win even with Stafford.
I don't know if I'd go that far, but even if Stafford's back, who knows if he's even going to be 100%. I mean, what? No. It's broken bones in his back, right?
You know what? At what point do you say just shelf him? Because they're way out of the playoffs race.
I think I saw a lot of Lions fans on Twitter kind of clamoring for that. It's a shame because he's on track to have probably his best season ever. But, do you really want to ruin the main cornerstone of your franchise by playing him in meaningless games?
Right. Because
you don't want to do that.
So there's 2 more games before that. If the Lions lose both those games, or even if they don't win both of those games, I think they should just shelf the guy if he doesn't play. If he comes back and all right, whatever. But if he misses the next 2 games and they lose, what is the point? Because if you lose both those games, you're 3-7-1. You're not making the playoffs.
Yeah,
you're just bringing him back for the numbers game.
Right. And even so, if you've already missed 3 games, it's not like you can put up a 16 games worth of stats. So what's the point?
But either way, I say the Bears beat the Lions on Thanksgiving. So
yeah,
they go 2-1 in their next 3. Then what's after that?
Cowboys at home.
Win.
I'm kind of 50-50 on that one. If they don't get pressure on Dak, if they can't stop the run, they're going to have a field day. If you don't have Hicks or Trevathan, I just don't see that ending well.
Who knows who's even the head coach of the Cowboys at that point?
I can see why one would think it's a win. I can. I just go back and forth in that one. I'm kind of like, well, I could see it. I could not see it. I don't know.
Do you know how many wins the Cowboys have this season against teams with winning records?
0.
1. Yep. So they're first place in the division more than halfway through the season, and they've only beaten 1 team with a winning record. I don't think the Cowboys are very good this year. I don't think their offensive line is playing that well. Is Dak Prescott, I think, is very good. Ezekiel Elliott's good. Amari Cooper is good. But, man, I think the play calling's terrible, and I don't think the defense is that good.
I agree that I don't think the Cowboys are that good, but, the Bears barely hung on against a completely depleted Lions team. That just doesn't give me a whole lot of confidence.
No, but they held Aaron Rodgers and the Packers to 10 points. So,
well, that was when they were fully healthy.
True. I'm still going win.
Okay. In Green Bay, I don't see any way they beat Green Bay.
Yeah, that's
Green
a
Bay.
loss. Yeah, that's
no, I mean the refs will be against them. The Packers are just better. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a loss. And I think it's actually going to be closer than a lot of people think. But I think it's going to be a bad call that changes the outcome.
Yep.
Because it's just going to fuel Bears fans' hatred.
Yep. It's going to be something. It's going to be something, whether it's a call or just a fluky play or just a complete missed assignment on a Bear. It's going to be gut wrenching.
It's going to be, a false start on the Packers that they don't call, and then it's going to be, the Bears are either ahead or it's a tie, and you've got Aaron Rodgers on that where they missed the false start. He's going to drop back. Khalil Mack's going to come be ready to get a sack, and they're going to. Somebody's going to hold him really badly that they don't call, and then he's going to throw like a 50-yard touchdown pass to win the game.
Yep. Yeah,
and
that sounds right.
Why didn't you call either of those penalties? Or they'll call somebody, bumps into him or slaps his butt after, a sack, and they're like roughing the passer.
Yep.
And then, I think
and
it's
Joe
be
Buck will
crazy.
say what a great call it is because of his undenying love of the Green Bay Packers.
This is what he's going to say. He's an amazing quarterback. Yeah, so what else is after that? The Vikings after that?
No, it's Chiefs at home. And that's actually the one game I could see the Bears winning. Just because as great as Pat Mahomes is, if it's bitterly cold at Soldier Field and their defense isn't very good, I don't know why. Every year the Bears win a game where they are heavily favored against, and that just feels like that game that they are heavily favored against that they pull out.
Here's why they're going to lose. Because it's just going to be absolute fuel for Bear fan anger that we see a guy that we could have had a quarterback throw for 400 yards and put up 35 points, and we're like, man, we could have had that guy, and our guy's going to throw an interception at the end of the game.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Because if we win, then people could be like, see, we don't need Pat Mahomes. We've got Mitch Trubisky. But that's not going to happen, so I'm not worried about it.
Oh. And then we have the Vikings on the road, week 17.
I think they beat the Vikings. I think they just got the Vikings number. So then
maybe.
I don't think that puts them in the playoffs, but
I see a 7-9 finish right now. That's where I'm at. You'd be what, 8-8?
The way the season has, I think so. The way the season has gone, I mean, you take it. Like, what else are you gonna do?
You're not hurting any draft position.
No, because you got a second rounder. We got 2 second
So you
rounders.
might as well finish strong. Get a little confidence back, I guess.
Figure it out for next year. Everything you do good at the end of this season is it's prepping you for next season.
Exactly. And if they finish strong, you'd feel better. I mean, if they finish 7-9, in the grand scheme of things, it is going to be beyond disappointing. I mean, you remember 2007 after the Super Bowl year when they finished 7-9?
Yeah.
It's very disappointing. You don't want that. But if you can at least finish strong and you have a better outlook of where you may be going in the future, you may feel a little bit better. I would love to play a little bit of spoiler against some of these teams, but, it'd be better than finishing 4-12. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think they'll at least win 2 more games.
Yeah, well, here's hoping. I mean, it'd be nice if they could finish a strong run. I mean, if you look at the last year, they were meh through the first 6 games, and then they just went on a tear. I think the Cowboys did the same thing. They were a mediocre team, and then they just went on a crazy tear and won 8 in a row and catapulted them to the playoffs. So it's not unheard of, but things have to start going right, and things have to click.
thing is, yeah, I mean, it's not unheard of, and I'm not saying it's 100% impossible, but you look at last year, in the regular season, before the gut-wrenching playoff loss, everything went right. Nobody got hurt. When Mitch Trubisky missed 2 games, you had Chase Daniels step in and help get them a win in Detroit, another division win. Your defense stayed healthy the entire time. Your receiving core stayed healthy the entire time. Your line was working well. Everything was falling into place. Everything went right. And in the NFL, having everything go right like that, unless you're Tom Brady, it's really hard to do.
Right.
I got to meme this conversation. Like, I'm going to over-exaggerate. You're going to be the meatball that says, we have all this confidence and potential, we're good, and you're stirring the Kool-Aid with the big wooden spoon, ka-clink, ka-clink, ka-clink.
Wait. My spoon, it's got duct tape holding it together because I've broken it over my knee, but then I've taped it back together to stir up some more Kool-Aid.
Like Ron Weasley's wand.
And it's not working right, just like Ron's wand.
Instead of that nice solid clink, clink, clink you hear, it's more like a boop, boop, boop.
It's got a hitch and it's get along. It's like ba-dunk, ba-dunk, ba-dunk.
And when you drink the Kool-Aid, there's still like undissolved sugar in it.
You get a big clump of like grape powder.
Yep. Yeah, just sitting
you're
there.
like, with this tape on there, I can't quite get into the corners of the jar.
And I'm sitting there like Shannon Sharp doing that nodding no thing that he does.
With his like lip tucked in, like he just smelled the fart while he did it. He's like, nope.
Exactly.
And then somebody's got to be what's his name, Stephen A. Smith, and just be like, nope, and just get up and walk out. All right, so which one of these other dog turd teams do you want to talk about?
Well, I want to go. I have some very strong feelings about the Bulls, but before I go there, I want to bring up one more football-related thing very quickly, if that's okay.
Hey, let's go.
Here in the state of Illinois, there are a lot of college fans, and I live in an Illini family. My mother went to U of I, my brother went to U of I, my godfather went to U of I. A lot of our good family friends who my mom knew at U of I, we're very close. We're an Illini family. We all have Illini apparel. We have Illini memorabilia in our basement. The Illini runs in our family. And I just want to say that watching Lovie Smith take this Illini team to the next level where nobody thought they could go is extraordinary. The way they rallied and beat Michigan State just this past Saturday, an epic historical rally for their school to clinch the first bowl game in I think it was 5 years, to see Lovie Smith, a guy who was very well respected here in Chicago, who honestly is still the most successful Bears coach in my lifetime, just to see this, I think is really special for a lot of football fans here in Illinois. And while Chicago sports has been a complete just dog turd wasteland in 2019, the Illini have really done a fabulous job of coming in and giving a lot of us, I know not everyone in Chicago is an Illini fan, but giving a lot of us who are something to cheer about. And even some of the people who aren't Illini fans, who are like Northwestern fans or DePaul fans or, UIC fans, they're kind of enjoying it too themselves. A lot of people who are Bears fans in this city have really appreciated what Lovie Smith has done. And, I think Lovie Smith got a lot of crap in the early years because that program was a disaster. They had no talent at all. But to build that from the ground up, and that they're going to be going bowling this year with some of the most incredible wins of the year. I mean, that game this Saturday and upsetting Wisconsin, I just had to mention that. I think it's really special, and it's cool that you see guys like Brian Urlacher and Lance Briggs tweeting at Lovie Smith showing their support. So I just wanted to talk about that real quick.
I've got something here.
Got a lot of football left to go in the season. We do have a lot of football left to go. We have a lot of football left to go. A lot of football left to go. There's a lot of football left to go still.
A lot of football left to go. Rex is our quarterback.
Yeah, classic Lovie.
Yeah, I'm happy for him. I don't hate the guy. I'm very happy for him. It's funny. I don't have, like, I grew up in Illinois. I just don't have an allegiance to the team because I'm the first in the family to go to college. And I went to DePaul, so I'm very loyal to DePaul football. Still undefeated. Never lost a game. Joke.
Now they're gonna lose.
Well, they don't have a football team.
Now they're gonna find a way to lose. They're gonna create a football team and lose just for you.
So yeah, I don't have an allegiance to Illini, but so like I don't like to see them lose, but I don't get bummed out if they don't. I'm probably closer to being a Northwestern fan. But Michigan's my team. I'm a big Big Ten guy.
Mm-hmm.
I hate Ohio State. Other than that, I root for every other team in the Big Ten except for Ohio State. Like,
right on.
I like Iowa. I like Illinois. I like Purdue. I'm just a Big Ten guy, and I will fight anybody that talks about how great the SEC is. Even if they're right, I don't care. I don't want to hear it.
SEC can suck my nuts. I don't care.
Right. So yeah, but like Michigan's probably my team. Michigan's my team. They're my favorite, but I think that was more of a growing up. You either like followed what your dad rooted for, or you went the exact opposite. And my dad's a Notre Dame fan.
Oh, okay.
So like growing up, on NBC was the Notre Dame games, and on ABC was the Michigan games. Mm-hmm. So those were the two games you got every week. And so like I chose to be a Michigan fan. Plus they have way cooler uniforms. But yeah, so they were on every week. And other than Northwestern, they're the next, from where I grew up, they were the next closest team proximity wise, I guess. It's probably, I guess, maybe equidistant to Champaign, but I just grew up as a Michigan fan. So, but yeah, I'm a Big Ten guy. So I'm happy for Lovie, and I hope they win their bowl game and start to change that franchise.
I think you can agree when I say that the Illini being good and relevant again is very good for the Big Ten.
It's very good. When was the last time Illini football was relevant?
2007. It's over 10 years ago.
Illini basketball used to be super relevant, and they really haven't been that relevant either.
Hopefully this year they kind of climb back towards that, but yeah, you're absolutely right.
So it's nice for them because it's a tough school to recruit because it's in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
You're like, hey, come somewhere where there's not a lot to do down there, and it's cold in the winter.
Yeah, no, it's tough. It's very tough.
It's a tough sell, and you're not gonna get a ton of these Texas, Florida, kids to come there because they're like, well, I can go to a better school that's better weather and whatever, but it's in a more winning program. But it's when you start winning, once you build success, it starts, success breeds success. And plus, what something Lovie can do is when he walks into a family's home recruiting their son, he can talk. I took a team to a Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
And he's also whether or not you're a Lovie Smith fan, he's a really good dude.
He is.
And when you've got like Nick Saban going in there, or some of these smarmy coaches, looks like used car salesman, Lovey can go in there and tell you that he genuinely is going to take your son under his wing and make him into a man.
Yeah, I mean, how can you not be charmed by Lovie Smith and that beard?
And plus he could bring Brian Urlacher with him.
Exactly. Like, he's like, yo, I was the head coach through the prime of this man's career, who's a pro football Hall of Famer, first ballot. So
yeah, he, if he's looking at a wide receiver return guy, he could bring Devin Hester with him. I coached the single greatest return man in the history of the NFL.
Yeah, you could bring Charles Peanut Tillman. You're looking at corners. I mean, Lovie Smith, he's got the respect of so many great players. Brian Urlacher, you've heard the stories. He would take a bullet for the dude. I mean, Brian Urlacher's relationship with Lovie Smith really was something.
Yeah. And they all loved him. So yeah, I mean that's one thing he's got going for him, is when when he tells you, I want to take your son under my wing, you believe him. You're like, I trust this guy. It's, but I mean, the hard part is when, if you have a kid that's phenomenal, you're like, is going to Illinois going to help him make it to the first round of the draft?
Right.
Versus going to Alabama. That's where the hard part is. But if you start building success, look at the program we're building. We're doing it without the same recruits that Ohio State has, without Michigan has. We're building this from the ground up with solid young men, where everybody's treated fairly.
Yep, you're creating a new culture, and Lovie Smith did that. I mean, when he took over that program, the program was in absolute shambles. There was no talent at all. There was no organization. The culture was terrible. It took him some time to transform it, because you can't transform that overnight. There's no draft. There's no free agency, so to speak. You got to recruit these guys. And when Lovie Smith first took over, the only thing that was somewhat appealing is playing for a guy like Lovie Smith, but the culture wasn't really established yet. The team was terrible. There was really no near sight of them being any good. But now that you're taking this big turn, look, when they upset Wisconsin, they made national headlines. When they clinched a bowl with that amazing comeback against Michigan State, they made national headlines. They're getting back to relevancy again. That's capturing people's attention.
Absolutely. All right, should we move on to the Bulls?
Yeah, because I have some thoughts.
So this team fell to 3-7 after a embarrassing loss to the Houston Rockets. So it was a 23-point loss.
Yeah, I didn't see any of that one. Luckily, I was out, so I'm glad I did not witness that.
Yeah. I haven't watched a ton of Bulls basketball yet this season. With life being busy and trying to catch the Blackhawks and the Bears, it's been a little tough. But I've tried to watch bits and pieces of every game, and I've got some thoughts too. So I'll let you go first.
There is a game in particular that I think we need to talk about. I don't know if you saw it or not, but I'm sure you heard about a lot what happened. I'm talking about a game that happened about a week ago against the Lakers. Yeah, you know where I'm going with this.
Yep.
Look, the Lakers, if they would have just gone in and beat you from start to finish, would you be surprised?
No, not at all, because they're in the power rankings. They're the number one rated team in the NBA.
Exactly. But you had a 19-point lead where everything was clicking. Then the Lakers go on, what was it, a 19-0 run, something like that? And the whole time, you don't make any switches. You're not calling timeout. And yet the reasoning is we have to develop all of these guys. And, I'm sorry, I don't know how this guy is an NBA head coach. I don't think anybody does. I admire his passion. I admire his, willingness to win and showing some fire. But just being an NBA head coach, I'm flabbergasted. I'm not saying I could be one, but it's kind of mind-numbing right now. But what really stuck out to me, and I wrote an article about this today. You could check it out on Twitter. You're not supposed to go to the United Center and feel like you're in a hostile environment. And when I mean hostile, I mean where the home crowd doesn't feel like the home crowd. There had to be at least 8,000 Laker fans standing and cheering, "Let's go Lakers." And if you don't know, it set good old Les Grobstein off, and that was pretty funny.
The grabber.
Good old grabber. He's like, "Screw you. Go to hell, all you bandwagon Lakers fans." I mean, that was a pretty funny rant. But this is where we're at. The house that Jordan built has become the house that other teams have built, other stars have built. Do you remember last year when Klay Thompson broke the all-time three-point record? Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The United Center was standing and cheering for him, both Bulls fans and Warriors fans. I mean, people are now coming to the United Center to see the other stars play in Chicago, the house that Jordan built. This is where the state of the team is in.
So in that game, the Bulls were up by, if I do my math correctly, they were up by 17 at halftime.
Mm-hmm.
And they were up by 13 going into the fourth quarter.
Mm-hmm.
And they lost
seemingly
by
in
6.
control. Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
They got outscored by almost 20 in the fourth quarter.
Yep. You were playing great defense. You were frustrating LeBron for the first half, really. Same with Anthony Davis. You were hitting your threes. You were stealing the ball. You were doing everything right, and then it just all fell apart at the blink of an eye. It was unbelievable how fast everything unraveled.
So it is frustrating, and this team hasn't looked very good. There's been some bright spots. Wendell Carter has looked good. 6 double-doubles in 10 games, playing really good defense, looking a lot more confident. You're seeing some real flashes from Kobe White.
He's my favorite.
But then you have a game against the Rockets where he shoots 4 of 16.
Yeah, and that's not good. And Kobe White, that's a guy I'm not really too worried about. He's very young. They were playing a Rockets team. I'm not as upset about him, because, I love the dude. But
Lauri Markkanen looks sluggish.
That's who I'm worried about.
Lumbering. I don't know what's going on with him. This is a really slow start, and it's one thing if the shot's looking a little rusty. He just looks slow. Like, I don't know if he's got a sore back still, a stiff back, just not playing well. You're seeing Zach LaVine being erratic against the Rockets. 5 of 17, 11 points. He needs to be a superstar if this team's going to be any good.
Yeah, absolutely. Lauri Markkanen is freakishly tall, but he's not doing what freakishly tall players in the NBA should be doing. And you wanted to see improvement from the three-point ball. You haven't seen that, but I think if you saw him look a little quicker and being a bit more consistent, you could live with the lack of threes a little more. I mean, it's a problem as a whole on that team. That's a whole other story, but there are some very concerning things from Lauri Markkanen, and it may be his health, and that's very concerning. How talented the kid is. You know how talented the kid can be going forward, but we're just not seeing it right now.
And then you're seeing Denzel Valentine being benched, seemingly just flippant reasons. I don't know really what's going on with this team. It just, I don't think Boylan is the right coach.
No.
I can tell you that much.
No.
But Chandler Hutchinson filled in admirably for Otto Porter, who is out indefinitely with a sprained foot.
Mm-hmm.
It's just very inconsistent play.
There was
a young team.
There was a lot of optimism this year, seeing them go to the playoffs and showing progression. I mean, there's a long way to go in this season. It's, they could get hot, whatever. But boy, I was watching this team with interest the first few games. And now I'm just like, they're the same old, Bulls, whatever. My interest is gone again. I mean, look, they lost to the Knicks. They lost to the Cavaliers. They lost to the not the Grizzlies, the Hornets. You beat the Pistons, okay? You beat a terrible, terrible Atlanta Hawks team. What was their? And the other win was against the Grizzlies. That was probably their only really notable win so far. Was that game against the Grizzlies? And after that game against the Grizzlies, you're like, all right, that was a really good win. Let's build some momentum here and let's keep it going. I don't expect the Bulls to go out and be beating the top teams, but boy, you thought that they would be able to beat some of these bottom feeders. You would thought that you'd be able to beat the Knicks. You watched Bobby Portis own you. That made me want to throw up.
Yeah, that was a frustrating one.
That was nauseating. I don't think I'd ever been that mad at a Bulls game during this whole regime. Because, ever since 2015 ended, the way that ended, the amount of apathy that I've had towards the Bulls has skyrocketed. But this year I said, I want to bring back that fandom. I used to be the guy that would watch every game, really into it, super into it. I wanted to have that again this year. And early on, I'm like, there's a new energy. I said it on the show. There's a new energy here. But it's completely been depleted, and it's just like, well, we're back to square one. I don't know what else to say. Why do I have any hope? Why should I or any fan have any hope for this regime? And it's not going to change.
I mean, the nice thing is I don't know if you saw the interview with Wendell Carter Jr., but he's like, Bobby Portis is not going to do that next game. Not doing it. Nope.
No, it was 100% a revenge game.
Yeah, I think you're going to see the Bulls dominate the Knicks. They're playing tomorrow night against the Knicks. But going back to your point about, the home crowd is honestly, it's expensive to go to the Bulls games. So all these people that have season tickets, why in the world are you going to go watch them get beat up by a really good team when you can sell that ticket for a bunch of money and pay for you to go for several other games? I don't blame those people.
No, I don't either. It's just sad that we're at that right now.
And it's because we don't have a good enough product where the demand is for your fans to buy the tickets to watch you beat a good team. It's the other team's fans coming here and like, well, I'm going to go to Chicago and watch a definite win. It's tough to watch, but I don't blame anybody. It's the way that tickets cost nowadays. It's so expensive to go to a game. And if you're a season ticket holder, you're just paying through the nose for these tickets. And if the product is bad on the field and the court, why on earth wouldn't you try to recoup some of that money?
Of course, and I don't blame the fans one bit for selling their tickets. I'm not mad at the fans at all. I'm just saying this is where we're at.
Yeah, you blame the team. It's the team's fault. Chicago has some of the most loyal fans in the world, and if they start not showing up, guess whose fault it is? It is your fault, team.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, look at how many years they've showed up for the Cubs and the Bears that have been bad.
Yep.
So, the Bulls haven't been good in a while, and they're still right up in there, and then one of the top teams as far as attendance goes.
Mm-hmm.
So it's if you stop putting a product on the field or on the court, whatever sport, eventually they're gonna be, why am I spending this money on this? Let me sell this.
So the article I wrote about this whole thing last night, there was a stat in there I want you to hear. You remember when they initiated the rebuild that they traded Jimmy Butler? How could you forget? Back in the summer of 2017. You remember it. I remember it.
Yep.
We all remember it. Since that rebuild started, the Bulls' record is 52-122.
That's not very good.
No. You have not won more than 27 games the past several years. And I get it. Rebuilds are going to look ugly early on. But what's frustrating now is that I can look and say, I don't see any progress. Maybe you have a few good players with promise, but as a whole, I don't see any progress. And I thought we were going to see that. Maybe things will get better as the time goes on, but until then, I'm just going to not really have my hopes up. They have to show me why they're going to show progress at this point.
I'm right there with you. They've got to put it together, and we've said it before. I think the front office is hot garbage. I don't think they're going to do it.
No. Look at the games that are going to be left on the schedule, and where you're going to see more of the visiting fans coming. The script has been flipped between the Bulls and the Bucks. Is it going to be like what Bulls fans did to the Bradley Center for 20 years? No, but you better darn believe that there's going to be plenty of Giannis supporters when the Bucks come to town, and it's going to be vocal, right?
And it's never going to be the way it is Chicago to Milwaukee, because when Chicago fans, whether it's the Cubs Brewers or the Bulls Bucks, whatever the case may be, it's the Chicago fans go there because there's parking and it's cheaper. And it's never going to be that way coming to the Chicago teams, but it might be easier to get a ticket, and it's also nice because you're like, hey, let me go to the big city for a night, spend the night, go to the game, have a nice dinner, whatever, get out of town, make it a mini vacation. That's a selling point.
Mm-hmm.
And so you flip the script as far as going to which direction, but then the circumstances around it are a little bit different. It's kind of like when the Blackhawks fans started going down to Nashville, and they were just like, oh, let me spend the weekend in Nashville. Nice drive down there, have a nice weekend, and then watch the Blackhawks, trounce the Predators and pay $20 for a ticket rather than $70.
Yeah. Not only that, I mean, let's face it. In basketball, there is a huge chunk of fans who don't necessarily follow teams, but follow players. Probably more than any other league. Would you agree?
Absolutely more than any other league. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it's far and away. Think about all the new Kawhi Leonard fans that have been made. When the Clippers come to town, I bet you there'll be a good number of Kawhi Leonard jerseys at the United Center.
Absolutely.
And those are just two examples. Really. I mean, you could look at a number of other teams. I didn't see any of the game against Houston, so I don't really know what the crowd was like there. But you're going to get a good number of Bucks supporters. You're going to get some Kawhi Leonard supporters, and you had all those Lakers supporters. When Boston comes to town, Boston fans travel pretty well. You'll get a decent chunk of them. And I mean, just throughout my life, the United Center never, ever, ever, ever felt like a hostile environment. It's like it was one of the few arenas where you would never get a vocal enough chunk of visiting fans in the stands. That's kind of changed now. It doesn't happen for every game, but you see it more and more. And it was very noticeable against the Lakers, more than I've ever seen it for a Bulls game.
Because you add LeBron and the Lakers together, it is just like a double whammy.
Yeah, Anthony Davis and LeBron and the Lakers.
And you got Tommy Edwards retiring.
Yep, right off into the sunset, my friend.
Yeah, so if you don't know Tommy Edwards, I don't know, there's not much to say about it, but go YouTube Tommy Edwards Bulls and watch the YouTube video of the awesome announcing, the intro announcings.
It's always good. We're gonna miss him.
Super iconic.
We're gonna miss him.
All right. Do we move to Cubs? Do we move to Blackhawks? I don't really know what else to say about the White Sox other than they've been already linked to every free agent that we know they're not going to sign, and they put a qualifying offer into Jose Abreu, which that's not surprising.
Yeah. I don't really have much to say about the Cubs. All I'm going to say is this. Obviously they've been putting their coaching staff together, whatnot. Will Venable's back. Mark Loretta's out. Andy Green's in. Iaposi's still around. But all I'm going to say about the Cubs is this. Get ready for a bunch of trade rumors of your favorite players. They are in the position where everything is quote-unquote on the table. And that means you're going to hear trade rumors swirling among writers, media, whatever. Whether they're true or speculation, you're going to hear plenty of talks about Chris Bryant. You're going to hear plenty of talks of Wilson Contreras. You're going to hear plenty of talks about Kyle Schwarber. You're going to hear plenty of talks of maybe even like a Victor Caratini or an Ian Happ, maybe a Jason Hayward. You're going to hear a lot of that stuff. I mean, really right now, I think the 100% untouchables, absolutely 100% in terms of position players, are Anthony Rizzo and Javier Baez. I think Bryant is close to untouchable, but if a sweet deal comes around, they may be more aggressive. But I think a lot of these other guys, they have a chance to be traded. And if you're going to make big splashes, I should say, not just big splashes, but big shakeups, you're going to see some notable guys get traded. And just be ready for those rumors because they're going to be swirling like crazy.
The rumor I'm already not annoyed by, but tired of hearing, Whit Merrifield.
That's got to end. It's not happening.
It's not happening. I'm tired of hearing about it already. But
he's already hit his peak. I think he's going to, imagine when he comes, imagine if they gave up a buttload for him and he ended up batting like 260 with like a 330 on base. Like, average numbers. Just imagine that.
Yeah. And I don't see them trading Chris Bryant for two reasons. Well, the one reason that they would trade Chris Bryant, the only reason they would trade Chris Bryant, is if they don't think they can get a long-term deal done.
Right.
If they think they can get a long-term deal done, then they're not trading him. And here's the reason why, because you're not going to get value for him unless you're going to rebuild. If you're going to rebuild, you're going to get great value and you are going to jumpstart that rebuild. But you're not getting good return if you're looking for major league ready players.
Yeah, it's an incredibly tough position. Incredibly tough where they're at. You are committing a lot of money to the payroll as it is. You don't have the flexibility to work with. You don't have the assets and depth in your organization to make deals. You are going to have to get incredibly creative, and you are going to have to be aggressive, and you are going to have to be ready to make some very tough decisions.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's all I really have to say. I don't have anything else.
Is Lester Strode coming back? I'm so confused what's going on.
I think it's a new role.
Is he coming? Is he taking it?
Yeah, I think so. I believe he's going to be back to the organization, just another role.
Mark Loretta is gone. Andy Green is your new bench coach. Scott Harris is gone. So it's going to be different. Hopefully good different.
Yep. Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, it's going to be a interesting offseason. I honestly, I don't see anything happening early.
No.
Everything's just going to be late. So I almost want to just mute Major League rumors and Cubs rumors until, March. Then I'll listen to whatever's going on.
Yeah,
somebody fill me in.
My early prediction is, and I could be very wrong, but my early prediction is we're going to be going into the winter GM meetings and, nothing's going to have happened with the Cubs. It's just going to be like, well, here we go. But we'll see.
I don't think they're going to be... I think they're going to be active. They're going to go into those the second level contracts. And those, those late contracts where you can, pick a guy up for a much better deal. I don't think they're going to be in on the big money free agents.
No. Garrett Cole, they're already saying he's going to command over $300 million. That's not happening. That's not happening here. No way.
So I guess we go to Blackhawks. Wrap this up. This is a weird team.
Yes, it is.
I can't figure out what's going on, but I do know that I'm already done with the chip and chase, and I don't want to see it anymore. I want to see them carry the puck into their own zone or the opposing zone. I want to see them carry it into the offensive zone.
Pretty sure every Blackhawks fan agrees with you there.
Yeah, we're tired of the chip and chase. I want to see what we've seen the last couple games where the offense has opened up a little more. And I was reading that they've decided to make a change where they're going to loosen up some of the things, trying to be defensive from being defensive minded first. And they're going to open it up and let the players be more aggressive offensively. And you're starting to see, and the 3 games that they've been doing it have been the 3 best games of Patrick Kane's all season. Is that a coincidence? Probably not.
No.
But I think you're just going to have to live with this team not being that good defensively because it's hard to be a defensive first team when you don't have very good defenders.
No, I mean, you weren't scoring and you weren't playing good defense, so you might as well score and try to win high-scoring games and not having a chance to win.
And that's where they won last year, is they just scored a lot of points. And I think they can just, you know what? If you're going to lose, I would much rather they lose 5-4 than 1-0.
Right.
Like, if you're going to lose, make it fun and exciting. Nobody likes to lose a game when you don't score any points.
No, not at all. And last night's game was a thriller. I mean, not only that they won, but it was a close game, heart-pounding. You had some great play from your young kids. You had Patrick Kane doing Patrick Kane things. You had Brandon Saad, who I think has been their best forward so far this year, scoring a late insurance goal that ended up being key. And, you saw how good of a signing Robin Leonard was. I don't really understand. Yeah, huge. I don't really understand Colleton's whole thinking of giving Kirby Dach a healthy scratch. I think if he's your young stud, he should be playing. But you saw him play yesterday, and you saw him score a goal and make an immediate impact on this team.
Somebody pointed out that every one of the young forwards that he's benched has come back the next game and scored a goal. So it might be a good thing.
Bench
but
Patrick Kane, he'll score a double hat trick.
Yeah, so Doc had a goal. You almost blew another third period lead in that game, though.
You did. I mean, what did the Leafs have, like 20-some shots on goal in that period alone? They nearly had 60 shots the entire game, but they really dominated that third period.
I saw a stat, and I wish I would have written it down, but it was something about in that this season that the Blackhawks have given up their rate of, or they've given up like X number of shots on goal, like 60 shots on goal or whatever it was, more times this year than they did under 10 years of Joel Quenneville. It was something ridiculous, and I'm just like, good God. But you know what? At least it's fun hockey when they're winning and when they're scoring a lot of goals. It's gonna be a tough. We're in a weird transition right now, and
it is.
This is not a rebuild. This is a retool, and sometimes those have growing pains with them, and I think that's what we're seeing.
At least the Hawks are on kind of a nice streak where they're at least getting points in the game. I was pretty disappointed, and again, I missed the game. I only heard the first period on the radio because I was driving somewhere, but I'm at least glad that we're getting points, either overtime losses or regulation wins or overtime wins, whatever. They're at least racking up some points in recent going, and if you can keep doing that, you can kind of hang around the pack. Right now, you're towards the bottom. You have a lot of teams ahead of you, but if you can just keep getting points, you can at least stay afloat and stay in the conversation.
The crappy thing about the Penguins game is they dominated that game, and they should have gotten 2 points out of it.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
They got one, which was a consolation prize. They should have gotten 2. They should have gotten the win.
Yeah, absolutely.
You had Corey Crawford catch a tough one across his face. I'm ready to see Corey Crawford retire.
I mean, he had a really good game. Where was it? He had a really good game recently. It was against the Canucks. He had a really good game against the Canucks. Yeah, I definitely think he's not the same anymore. Not even close. The way I see it is now, I think Leonard's just got to be your starter. Let Crawford kind of be a backup. They've been trying to do the two-headed monster back and forth, but to me it's obvious that Corey Crawford isn't exactly the same guy anymore due to unfortunate circumstances. But, at least if he's going to play, don't play him as much. Leonard has proven he's a number one goaltender.
Right, absolutely.
I mean, last night, you don't often hear a guy who gave up 4 goals as being praised, but he faced nearly 60 shots and made 53 saves. That was impressive.
Yeah, I just want to see Robin Leonard get the lion's share of starts. And I want to see this offense stay loose and opened up. I want to see more carrying the puck in the offensive zone, and I want to see more of the young kids play defense. I want more Seabrook with healthy scratches. Those are the things I want to see.
Yeah, and you might see more of it as time goes on.
And sorry, Seabrook, if you really think that you've got a lot to offer, then maybe you need a better mirror in your house. And maybe you shouldn't skip film day.
I think you spilled Kool-Aid all over that mirror. It's all sugary and sticky.
With my broken Ron Weasley spoon. Oh my! So my daughter has been super into Harry Potter.
Nice.
And so I've been playing the movies for her, but I'm trying to balance because she wants to see all the movies, but some of them get a little scary She's
Dark.
5. She's turned 5.
They get very dark.
The first 2 that were directed by Christopher Columbus, those are very kid friendly, but
Yes,
then
they
they start
are.
getting a little darker. So she's like, I don't want to watch the ones I saw already. I want to see ones I haven't seen. But she can't process everything that she's seen, so she just like remembers like goofy parts. So she's like, I hate the blonde boy. He's not very nice.
Oh, Malfoy, that's funny.
Yeah, I'm like, nobody likes Malfoy. And she calls Snape Snake. She's like, Professor Snake is not nice. And then her favorite spell is Wingardium Leviosa. I'm like, it's Leviosa. And she goes, no, it's Leviosa.
Well, no,
Watch the movies.
You gotta say it's a Leviosa, not Leviosa.
Wingardium Leviosa.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, so she's super into it. So I hope she doesn't listen to this because she's getting a Hermione wand for Christmas.
Oh, cool. I had a Harry Potter wand when I was a kid.
I ordered that for her, so she should have a blast because she's already talking. She wants to be Harry Potter for Halloween next year.
Nice.
Is there anything else you want to talk about?
No, I think I've said my piece. Thought we had a good show tonight.
Yeah, so I think that's going to do it for this episode of Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago. I want to thank everybody so much for listening and bearing with us through tough times in Chicago sports. Follow us on social media at ShyFanPat1, at Swerski Sports, Facebook.com/Swerski Sports, SwerskiSports.com. We'll let you know via social media when we're going to do the next Hot Mic broadcast. Hit subscribe however you listen to podcasts, whether it's iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, the TuneIn app, Spotify. Just hit subscribe, share this podcast with your friends. That's how we grow the show. And again, thank you guys so much for listening. And until next time, bear down.
Cubs win! What a lucky break! The good Lord wants the Cubs to win!
We thank Ditka and God for all they have provided.
Cubs win! Cubs win! Cubs win!
Oh, I don't want her. You can have her. She's a Packer fan. She can't fit in my van.
And she looks like
Remember, New Yorkers, smoking crack is not legal on planes. Bears 31 to -7. The Bears!
Oh, when the Bears go bearing down.